Captain Haley, can you tell me a little bit what Afghanistan was like? Try to explain it to people who have never been there before.
Well, Afghanistan is very diverse. So the area that we were in was in Helmand Province, which is very desert and desolate. Most of the people would recognize Afghanistan as being very mountainous, but that was in the central or in northern parts of Afghanistan.
I know the core of your mission was working with Afghan farmers to try to get them to switch out of poppy. What were some of the other things that you did while you were during your deployment?
Well, I think in general it was to kind of help the government, the local governments, and then what would be equivalent to our Department of Agriculture here in the state, working with them to help kind of educate them, mentor them, so they can then in turn send that knowledge out to the local populace, local farmers. Some of the work there would be irrigation work. Everything's still back in the late 1800s, early 1900s there, so the technology's not quite great.
Did you see any combat while you were there? Did you run into anything?
Well, our convoys, we did on 2 occasions hit 2 IEDs. There was no direct fire with any of them. There were a few tense moments occasionally, but no bullets were flying at that time. The area, really, the Al-Qaeda and Taliban are kind of, they're somewhat in hiding. They attack by setting out IEDs, and that's really their main way of attacking. They don't do so much forward or face-to-face fighting anymore. So they're really pot shots, and they've been weakened, and that's why we're seeing kind of some of the tactics that we do.
Well, Governor, let me ask you this. How has this, the deployment changed your perspective, both just as a wife and a mother, but also as obviously someone as a governor who is looking at the world?
Well, I mean, it strengthens my belief in the fact that we need a strong military. I've always believed that when my brother fought in Desert Storm, and to see Michael go through this too, I know the importance of having them ready for a mission, and I know the importance of making sure that our military is strong. And it's not just when you're in wartime, but it's also otherwise. Other than that, it is something that I learned, that I realized about myself, is that even though I was worried about him, and even though I was conscious of the kids and what they were going through, it was very important for me to keep all of that emotion out of my job, and to make sure that I didn't let myself get any other, have those emotions get in the way of how I govern the state. And so that was really something that was important to me. I knew that before he left, that I wanted to make sure that we were very conscious of that, and I kept that through pretty much all year long. But then from a personal side, it reminds you so much not to sweat the small stuff. The fact that there may be politics being played at the State House, or the little petty games that go back and forth. I just don't care about that, because the big things that matter are right here. You remember the fact that, just be thankful for health and happiness and love and results. And that's what I'll continue to try and do in the state, is just results, and let the other stuff kind of run around. Okay. The one thing is, I don't think a lot of people talk enough about the transition, which is, here the soldier's been out of society for a year, so they haven't driven in a year, they haven't been in crowds in a year, they haven't dealt publicly with a lot of things, and that doesn't just switch back on. There is a transition that the soldier goes through. The families, my son, he's 12, but before Michael came home, he said, I don't remember life before Dad. I don't remember what it was like when he was here, and the transition of the kids getting used to him again, or the fact that, we used to eat dinner downstairs, and because it was hard for us, because we were looking at his chair, we started eating upstairs. You change your lifestyle to get through the days, and so then when they come back, you have to transition back to either the old way or the new way and work it out together. And so it's not just the hug that you see when they get home. There's a few weeks of transition after, for the kids and for the families and for the soldier, to make sure they get back into society in a way that's comfortable and healthy.
When now I'm back home, there's a lot more activity. You hear a lot of different noises, whereas over there you don't hear anything. Especially where we were in home, there's not much activity. There's no streets. There's no automobiles going back and forth. There's no even birds chirping. So being here, you just hear a lot of ancillary noise. And so you're always kind of.
It was funny when he came back. the first thing he said was, "It's just so beautiful here. It's so beautiful here." And I think, we take for granted the grass and the trees and the green and the flowers, and for him, he hadn't seen it in so long, and it was just, it's kind of a reminder to all of us how great we've got it.
Do you have any plans for Christmas, traveling, anything like that, just to get you some?
We're doing our traditional Christmas, so
Okay.
we're lucky to be able to have both our parents will be here, and
Both families always get together for Christmas and Thanksgiving, so we're going to pretty much have our basic Christmas again, and just, we're just thankful to have that time.
stick to
And,
the traditions.
yeah.